All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move podcast. Talking about the Tour of Switzerland and the Dauphiné, perhaps not in that order. As always, today's show brought to you by Oura. Oura is the company behind the smart ring that delivers personalized sleep and overall health insights that help you, just get better. They're committed to empowering people to take control of their personal health and daily routines. I know I'm, as I talk about every time we do a show, I'm a huge fan. Every night and every morning I wake up, checking my sleep cycles, checking my core temp, my HRV, all of these critical metrics in and around sleep, not just sleep, but activity, recovery, so important. Love this company as I think everybody else alongside me today does as well. Head on over to Oura Ring. Check one out. Oura Ring, OURA ring.com. And also, as always, joined by, he's back. He's back stateside. George Hincapie. He's done with yet another worldwide tour. George, I think the one thing that stood out to me from your trip and just watching creep in on your Instagram is that little thing that you rode out over that glass bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out on that. I don't care if there's 0% chance of that thing falling. I'm just out.
It was pretty spectacular. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty awesome to do it. But one time was enough. We also did push-ups on the skywalk as well, which is even more of a strange feeling looking down over 2,000 feet below you. Pretty intense.
Were you freaked out? Like I'm really scared of heights. That's why I'm out on that.
Yeah, no, I was definitely freaked out.
And Croatia looked amazing. Following your Instagram, I was mind blown.
Yeah, Croatia, I think might be. Sorry, Johan, and sorry to my French wife, but that might be my new favorite European city or country. It's just so amazing. The scenery, the cycling, and I was there for work, but I still got to enjoy some incredible scenery, and the people are really nice.
What next for you? Is it a trip to?
Aspen, baby. I'm coming to sleep with you.
All these rich guys with these space ships now taking people. You probably have a seat on Bezos' spaceship somewhere. Mine
was called Delta, actually, my spaceship.
You have to have mooched yourself away onto a fucking spaceship, knowing you.
No, but if you think of anybody like wants to pick me up and take me to Aspen, just, you got my number. Holla. I'll be ready.
Also, as always, JB Hager down there in Austin. JB.
Holding down the fort in our 100-degree temps.
I was just there. I can't take it anymore. I'm a 50-year-old wimp. I'm done. The heat and humidity. I'm just done.
Yeah, I got to do something that we talked about George doing a couple weeks ago. It's called Operation Get Out, similar to Operation Wake Surf that George did. We took a bunch of National Guard men and women out and to get on the lake for a day and wake surf and chill and unwind. It was great.
Cool. Yeah.
Good for the mental health,
And over there in Madrid, I didn't know that. I know Johan has so many talents, but I didn't realize that he had a talent for filming snakes having sex. and by the way, I've never seen two snakes have sex. And I guess that's what they were doing. But if you go to Johan's social media, what are you, just out riding and all of a sudden two snakes are just knocking boots in the middle of the trail?
They were just there in front of me and they didn't move. I mean, they wanted some intimacy, I guess, but no. I mean, it's the first time. I've never seen this before. I see a lot of snakes. But I mean, real snakes, not the snake check that we used to do back in the days.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was quite, spectacular. Yeah.
No, it was.
I'm also just back from a little trip. Just got back from Belgium, spent the weekend there, went to see a very nice event organized by a friend of mine, bike races from 6 years till 14 years old. Incredible. Very nice.
But those kids are racing at age 6.
6 years old. Yeah. Wow. They did a race. It was a race. They did 3 times 200 meter sprints, the 6-year-olds.
Wow. First lesson to the 6-year-olds in Belgium: how to quack.
Of course.
Must be a quacker.
Of course.
By the way,
that's part of it.
Yeah. By the way, Johan, it's intimacy. So we'll put intimacy up there with the obstacles.
Intimacy. Okay, sorry, man. You see, we need to do more of these. We need to do more podcasts. I'm losing my English. Losing the fluidity of the English.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you speak 10 languages, Johan. I think that's pretty understandable.
Exactly. He gets mixed up with all these different languages. But hey, before we jump into the action of these two great races, iconic races, really sort of, not grand tours, but arguably a notch below, right there, and certainly critical for tour favorites and the teams for preparation. And also some notable absences from these races, which I think is fascinating to talk about. But today's show also brought to you by Roca. This company, love this company, based down in Austin, Texas. They practice what they preach. I mean, they're just awesome athletes, every single one of them. It is my go-to lens. I love riding in all of their shades, including the new Matador. I've ridden in a bunch of shades over the years, but this is the one. And the thing I actually spend most of my time of theirs wearing are my readers. I got a whole new batch coming for the tours, guys. I'm happy to report I am still at 2.0. So I'm not going to 2.25.
Me too.
I think that, yeah, I think my eyes have stabilized. But look, it just, I can't say enough good things. And also you see a ton of them out there in the peloton, so that, that the guys at the tip of the spear trust it. You can trust it as well. Our listeners get 20% off their first purchase. Discount code is the move, all one word. Head on over to Roca, and that's ROKA.com. Discount code, or the special offer code, is the move. 20% off your first purchase. Today's show also brought to you by LMNT. And before I talk about LMNT, big shout out. I love getting packages from LMNT. They do this better than anybody. It's not just like, here's product. Like, it's always something. Like, it's an ice dish or a Yeti mug, or it's just always got this cool touch. But I got the new flavor, and yet another new flavor the other day, the grapefruit salt. And I love grapefruit, by the way. But this is my go-to, totally pure, totally natural, no BS. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. It is the one. No additives, no junk. By the way, if you don't like it, money back guarantee. Just hand it off to your friend. So for our listeners, this is what they're offering: an 8-pack sample, right? Just for the cost of shipping. So here's how you do it: go to the website, sign up. You get the 8-pack sample, 4 different flavors, all for the price of shipping. Head on over to drinklmnt.com/themove. We're calling that the Recharge Sample Pack. Check it out. All right, let's talk about these two great bike races. Before we, I'll just lob this out there. I think for anybody that thought that Team Ineos is sort of yesterday's news, I don't know. Looked pretty damn good to me.
They did. At the Dauphiné, I think, we saw their lineup. They had Richie Porte, and they had Geraint Thomas, ex-Tour de France winner, Theo Gegenhardt, Giro winner. So we knew they had ambition, but yeah, they delivered. And, this is without Bernal. And then on the other hand, they have their other leader, Richard Carapaz, riding another race to Tour of Switzerland. So Team Ineos has been dominating basically all of the stage races they have done this year, compared to last year, where they were not even a shadow of what they were. It's remarkable.
So not only that, Johan, Richie Porte hasn't even won a race in Europe since 2018. I mean, we're seeing the death of their talent right now, unlike, even though they've been winning so much over the last 5-10 years, unlike we've seen, I don't think, because they have just so many guys winning races now. And the Tour squad is going to be by far the strongest squad in the Tour, even though we're not really talking about the Tour de France right now. There's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. They're just winning everything right now.
Mm-hmm. They do. And from the Dauphiné, obviously Richie Porte won the overall. I was a little bit disappointed in the time trial performance of Team Ineos. Geraint Thomas didn't do he did a good time trial, not a great time trial. But then, he went on to win the day after, and, in a very tactical, very smart way. And, we all know, winning the Dauphiné or being at the top level at the Dauphiné is not a guarantee. Most likely, more often not than yes, to win the Tour. So I think they're right there. They're definitely on a very high level, and bringing the two teams together, Dauphiné and Tour of Switzerland. It's going to be an amazing squad that they have at the Tour de France.
So who will be on that?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say exactly. Do we know, Johan? You always have the scoop.
Well, obviously, we know that the three leaders are Geraint, Thomas, Carapaz, and who's the third? Theo. Okay, Theo is good, but I don't think you can put him at the level of Geraint Thomas and Carapaz. He won the Giro, but let's be honest, the Giro was not at the same level in terms of rivals. The 2020 Giro, but he's obviously going to be a key member. Then of course Richie, and and let's not forget they don't have Bernal, they don't have Martinez, who were two of the three strongest riders in the Giro, basically. At the end, then they're going to have to go for helpers. Dylan van Baarle probably. He was an all-rounder. Don't know about Ron Dennis, if he's going to be on there or not. Eddie Dunbar, I think is going to be on there.
He's been part of all the sort of Tour de France training camps. So I would be shocked if Ron was on the team. With Ron Dennis, he's an amazing strong rider, but you never know. So I've seen that he's leaving Team Ineos
again, moving teams again.
Most likely going to sign for Jumbo Visma. So those things obviously also come into the game when you select the Tour de France team. If in terms of strength, he would always be on my team. He's just, he's a monster. He's a horse. He can ride up climbs until there's 10 or 15 riders left. So why not? They have the luxury of be able to pick their 8 and leaving home 2 or 3 really good riders that would be on any other team in the Tour de France.
Yeah. Can you guys? Go ahead, George.
Johan, like you just mentioned, you got 3 Grand Tour winners over the last, couple of years on the same team. When was the last time we've seen that the Tour de France team? I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
That's just incredible, the strength of their team that they have. And also another point you brought up is these guys aren't really at their peak yet. The guys doing the Dauphiné. I had a question for Lance. Lance, when you showed up to the Dauphiné, you usually won the Dauphiné. And of course, you went on to win the Tour de France. But you were probably at 85, 90%, a couple of pounds heavier. Talk about like where you were in your state of fitness before the Tour de France at the Dauphiné.
Well, when Johan was just talking about that was what I was thinking. Like it's all about the trajectory, right? You cannot, first of all, you can't have a problem at the Dauphiné, which of course we did have in 2003. So, the crashes or just any mishaps that are going to complicate those final couple of weeks. And then, the actual tour, it's all about the trajectory. So come in. Yeah. You want to lose, a little bit of weight. You want to gain some race form. But you're on the up. Like you don't want to be in that race feeling like you don't have another level. If you feel like you don't have another level at that race, even if you win, you're screwed. You've got 2 or 3 weeks till the tour. Then you got you just can't sustain it. So we always, came into that race, and maybe, there were years we were able to win, but you had plenty of other gears left. At least we knew we had more gears left. Speaking of other gears, Theo Gegenhardt is a loyal listener of the show. And so I feel like he just got a couple more gears after what the Svengali Johan had to say. So, Theo, Johan is just brutally honest. And I'm so glad now you got another couple gears. You just went up in my book because I feel like hearing Johan say that just really motivated you.
Absolutely. And Theo's
what did I say? What did I say?
Well, you sort of poo-pooed his Giro win and said, let's be honest. And I'm like, oh, no. Hang on.
Listen, I mean, I like Theo Gegenhardt as a Theo Gegenhardt as a rider. But, I mean, Geraint Thomas won the Tour de France. Richard Carapaz won the Giro and has proven that he's been second in the Tour of Spain. Theo is on the up. He still has to confirm his performance of the Giro. Obviously he has the qualities, but if you take those three guys, he's number 3. And I think he will agree with that. So
I think he's number 1 in Lance and I's.
Anyway, if by my comment I have motivated him, mission accomplished.
Going back to these, what's going on, right? They just finished the Dauphiné. They finished the Tour of Switzerland. I still wake up in cold sweats when I'd get the call from Johan or Lance saying, you got to come to camp with me after Dauphiné or Switzerland, because A, I knew I wasn't going to be able to eat, and B, it was like 2 days off after the race and then training full gas for the next 10 days, like living like a concentration camp lifestyle. No fun. I mean, obviously you're not going to have fun before the Tour de France, but those were some of the hardest training blocks we've ever done. I still remember Puigcerda, where we went, it was like 2 degrees Celsius and pouring rain, and we'd go out for these 6-7 hour rides. There's no time off for these guys. I mean, this is their 3-week window where they get to lose the 2 to 6 pounds wherever they're at. They get to gain the 10 to 20 watts, 30 watts, whatever they need to gain, and it's all about full gas training for this 3-week window before the Tour de France.
Right, and guess what else, Johan? I mean, George, they're paid to do this. So stop being a diva. You were paid handsomely. You now have a global following of people that just adore you, and it wouldn't be possible if you didn't do that. So
yeah, correct. I wasn't complaining. I was saying that it was it was a daunting task knowing that I was going to be with you for 3 weeks in between races, and I knew that was going to be hard work.
Yeah, George started to shed a little light on that, and that was one of my questions. Those that did the Dauphiné have a little bit more time in between before the tour starting. You mentioned it's 2 to 3 weeks. What does that training look like in that 2 to 3 weeks? What exactly are you doing? That's part one. And then I also want you guys to elaborate on the politics of the team selection, especially when you talk about Ineos and all the stacked talent. So what is going on between now and Tour de France start?
Well, I'll let Johan handle the politics because that's what he did so well. But as far as the training goes, look, I mean, you have to train a lot. I mean, what George alluded to it, just this, I mean, coming into the tour at the perfect body weight, ready for the tour, you still might have a little bit to lose, but you've got that first week. But you can't do either of these races as prep and then just go. Growing up a kid that swam, one of the most important things in swimming is the taper, right? So whether it's state championships, national Olympics, any of these things, these swimmers, they've got tapering down to an art form. Cyclists don't taper, right? They train straight into the tour. There isn't a taper. And again, nobody wants to sit around and starve themselves. So enable to keep that perfect body weight coming into the tour, man, I mean, George just said it. I mean, we're out there doing, these camps leading up to the tour, we're doing 6, 7, 8 hour days, right? All the way up to the final week.
Is that mostly just preparing the body for what it's like during the tour? That just the pounding, the daily pounding that you get, and then it's literally like what you go through for that 3 weeks.
Well, by the way, I mean, I couldn't, or I would not want to go out and do a 6 hour ride at this point in my life, but these guys are so good, so efficient. 4 or 5 hour days, that's not going to affect them. They recover from those. That's just what they do. What about the politics, Johan?
Well, let me get to that. And I want to, because Johan had one of the toughest jobs, because even though I was part of your 7 Tour de France wins, Johan always made it clear I was not guaranteed to make the Tour de France team. It was like, hey, you better be performing. You better be doing these rides with Lance. And you're not a set spot, even though I'd been there the whole time. The point is that he was always very clear with all the riders. If you weren't giving it all for what the main goal of the team was, and you weren't putting in the effort that was required to be at the race, you were not a shoo-in, no matter how many times you had done it. So he had a tough job, and he always made it very clear to us that, there was no slacking off, that we needed to prove that we deserved to be there, or we weren't going to go.
Was George ever questionable, Johan?
George?
Yeah.
Not really.
So.
I had to do that. Was that?
You had
what
to
did you
do
say,
that.
George?
I mean, you had to keep us,
Yeah.
The fire under the belly.
But no, George was never in question. I mean, he had the experience, and he had proven it over again. But it's not easy. Normally what you have is you have your leader, and then you have your loyal guys around him, and then you have number 7, 8, and 9. Those are the guys that there's probably 7 or 8 guys for that. And then you really have to wait until the end to see who's in good shape. If somebody has been too early in good shape, their willingness to commit to the team, to give it all. That was, for me, that was the main factor, the decided factor. Somebody could be performing a lot better in Tour de Suisse or Dauphiné. But if I saw that he was just thinking about his tour spot and, just riding for his own place, for his own spot, to have a better spot than another guy, because the guys know who they're competing with for those last spots. So it's an internal competition already in the race, in the Dauphiné, to see, who's. So you have to have these things in mind. And for me, the team commitment was always, decisive factor number 1.
And Johan, of those years, what, I guess it's kind of you can answer or either way you want, but 2 options. What was your biggest regret on sort of spot 8, 9, or what was your biggest regret on sort of spot 10 or 11? Somebody you left at home, where you looked at it in hindsight and said, yeah, they should have been there, or why the hell did we take them?
Mm-hmm. Well, I thinking except 99, where there was not really a question. We had like 6 guys who could do the tour, and then we had to go find 3 other ones who could maybe finish it, right? But from then on, the team became stronger and stronger. I don't really have any regrets. I knew I had a few difficult decisions to make. For example, I know that, and that was actually something that I don't regret it, but I got a lot of criticism for it. 99, I think it was 99. That American team, my first year as a director, and I left the American champion at home, Marty Jameson. And I think I think so. George, you were American on the team, and then there was 2 or 3 other Americans. Yeah, probably. Anyway, so that was a difficult decision, but regretting. There's another difficult one that once, and you will remember this one, Lance. I think it was 2001 or 2002. The tour started in the north of France, in Dunkirk, and we left Cedric Vasseur.
Oh boy, no, that was the team presentation was not very pleasant for anybody.
I know, but and I do remember, Lance. I do remember we had this discussion. It was the only year we did the Tour of Switzerland before the Tour de France, and I remember I made a spreadsheet, and team commitment was what made the decision to leave him home. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't have in account he was French, that the Tour de France started there. Obviously, he would be super motivated, but he would be super motivated for himself and not for the team. And so, those were 2 decisions that I could say, okay, it brought me some problems, but I think more or less we always, we always brought the strongest squad, and sometimes there were difficult decisions to make. But I can't say that, okay, we should have left this one home to take this one, at least not out of the top of my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great point. The team commitment is what it's all about. Those last, 7, 8, well, now it's only 8 riders, but 6, 7, 8 spots. I mean, they could potentially be the same sort of riders and have the same strength, or able to do the same job for the team. I'm talking particularly for the GC squad. But in the Tour de France, it is so easy to get caught up in the hoopla of the massivity of the event. I mean, you go there and all of a sudden, you've got all the media in the entire world. So some guys, they get there and go, well, shit, I want to make the breakaway tomorrow. I want to do this. I want to get my face on TV. I want my parents to see me on TV. Maybe I don't need to, tow Lance on the left side in the wind and burning energy just to keep him safe. So that was a big thing that you always had to look at, was who was going to be there 100% committed to, keeping the guy over here out of trouble and keeping him up in the front. I mean, that's a whole different mentality for riders.
Yeah. I want to, and we're reminiscing, which that's old guys. That's what we sit around and do. So and I think people enjoy that. It's cool to get a little of that insight into our history. There's a lot more to it, as you can well imagine. But I do want to come back and talk about Carapaz's exceptional victory, because I think he sent a message at the Tour of Switzerland that was. But I want to get in and break that down, and then just sort of some odds and ends as we lead into the tour. But before we do that, today's show also brought to you by Magic Spoon. I love people comment on my Magic Spoon all the time. Like, they come to the house, the kids have just eaten it, sitting out on the countertop. As you all know, Anna will not allow any crap in our house, which, most of the time is good. Sometimes you want some crap, but this is the one cereal she'll allow our kids to eat. This is Magic Spoon has recreated. They've recreated cereal as we knew it as kids, when we were kids, but they've created a whole new category. So no crazy bombed out sugar cereals. This is all natural, no sugar, no gluten, no grain, bunch of protein in there. And guess what? Still tastes good, right? Fan favorite, and the favorite of the Armstrong house is the blueberry, which, by the way, for everybody else that loves it, is back in stock. So head on over to magicspoon.com/themove and get $5 off with the code THEMOVE at checkout. And as always, I love this, 100% happiness guaranteed. Last one of the day. Today's show also brought to you by Helix Sleep. This is George and I, loyal user. Obviously, everybody sleeps in it. Most people sleep in a bed, but George and I are lucky because we sleep on a Helix mattress. This thing, they got this thing so dialed. You go on, you fill out a survey for a few minutes. You talk about your sleep characteristics. You talk about just all the things that when you think about your night's sleep, like what are the things that make it sort of different or special? You go on, fill it out. They customize the mattress for you. I haven't slept this well on any other mattress ever, and I mean that, right? They're great partners of ours, but it's the Helix mattress is insane. Here's what you got to do. All right. By the way, rated the #1 best overall mattress pick of 2020 by GQ and Wired magazines. Like, come on, like a bunch of smart people. Just go to helixsleep.com/themove, take the 2-minute sleep quiz, and get ready for the best night of sleep in your life. Also, offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/themove. That's helixsleep.com/themove. Let's talk about Richard Carapaz. We saw some HP. That's horsepower in the Tour of Switzerland. He was doing stuff that looked old school. Like, he was just commanding.
Yeah. Yeah, in that mountain stage, that was really impressive. We had Jakob Fuglsang, who did a great attack. Basically, dropped what's his name? Esteban Chavez is a great climber. Looked like he was, basically taking advantage of the way the other favorites were looking at each other. Got 40 seconds, and then you got Carapaz all of a sudden, and just one attack. Dropped everybody, and in less than 1.5 kilometer, he had bridged the 40 seconds to Fuglsang. Then basically pulled Fuglsang to the finish. Fuglsang sprinted for it, and Carapaz still managed to pass him and win in the sprint. That was an amazing performance. That was really impressive, and I think, as you say, Lance, a real statement within the team. Like, hey, I'm here too. And, since Liège-Bastogne-Liège hadn't been racing, had been training in his country, in Ecuador, at altitude. But man, he came back in good shape, and he's meaning business for the Tour de France for sure.
I'm excited. This is going to be, man, I know we all sit around and want to have an exciting tour, but it kind of has, we've got guys that have shown they're strong, and then you've got this mix of guys that we haven't seen. Right. So Primoz, Roglic, Pogačar did race, Tour Slovenia won, but those you're like, well, how is it going? Like, we don't know. It's got some intrigue, which I think as fans we want.
It does.
Well,
and
I
like
think
Johan mentioned in the preview show about Jumbo, they haven't really been showing as much as they were last year. Last year they dominated Dauphiné Libre. Primoz is at home training. Then you got Ineos dominating on all fronts. I think it's setting up, and I know we're going to touch upon this a lot more during our preview show next week, but this is setting up to be a pretty amazing tour.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to take away from this, looking at the Tour de France and looking at those two races, is you have the two Slovenians, Pogačar. I think Pogačar this year is on a higher level than last year. That's reasonable to say, which is not good news for the rest. Has a stronger team, but definitely not the same strength of team as Ineos or even Movistar, or Astana is also a lot better than last year. And then you have Roglic. So those two individuals are probably the strongest individually and have to face these three, maybe four. If you look at Astana, you look at Ineos, you look at Movistar, and also Bahrain. Team Bahrain is also a strong team right now. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be interesting to see, what those strengths, those blocks can do against those individuals. For me personally, I think that Pogačar is still the guy. He's stronger. He's a lot more confidence. Has a stronger team than before, and is young and on the up, right? But it's going to be interesting to see if that's enough to beat these experienced, well-oiled machines like Team Ineos.
But it's still the Tour de France.
Exactly.
It's still 3 weeks. You still have all of the complications of all the days outside of the iconic days, right? The big days, the big mountains, whatever. Anything can, that's.
You see how aggressive the racing is right now. I mean, the first couple of stages, how hard that looked. Of course, after the prologue, which, by the way, Stefan Kuhn winning the prologue 1 kilometer away from his home. That's like a dream come true. So amazing result for him. And then Mathieu van der Poel just dominating at the front. It's unbelievable what he does when he's on. I mean, it's unlike any other race.
I mean, imagine this, George. Mathieu van der Poel comes in the Tour of Switzerland. He's been away from the road, has been mountain biking, comes there, wins those 2 stages, takes the leader's jersey. I mean, in an incredible, the way this guy takes off, it's like he's going to break the bike in two. So much power. Takes the leader's jersey. And then imagine the other guys who are there. This is their main goal, and he's just taking this. This is just fun for him because his goal is mountain biking at the Olympics. Yeah. And by the way, on the way there to the Olympics, he's probably going to take the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, because I have a scoop. I have information.
Scoop alert. Scoop alert.
Is that Mathieu van der Poel has made it a mission to honor his grandfather, Raymond Poulidor, who has never in his life worn the yellow jersey, to wear the yellow jersey in his first participation in the Tour de France.
Wow.
So we know what that means. If an animal like that guy gets it, in his head, it's probably going to happen.
I would love for you guys to elaborate on it. What I've noticed about Mathieu van der Poel is that he doesn't win a sprint in a traditional way. For years we watched the quick step train line up and the sprinters have it timed to perfection. He seems to go earlier and sustain and even gap people. We haven't seen anything like this in some time.
Yeah, that second stage win was basically he attacked the peloton. He attacked the sprint train and he was just gone. It's incredible. Listen, him and Van Aert are just they're two phenomenal athletes. They do stuff that we've never seen. And I think in the Tour de France.
To top it off, he goes in the breakaway on the mountain day for fun in the yellow jersey. Like, imagine being in the breakaway. What are you doing here? You just won the first 2 stages. Leave us alone. Like, let us try to get a chance here.
I know.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I want to, let's just for a second, I don't know if I have a spot in my heart for this guy, but Tom Dumoulin made his return to the peloton. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that. I mean, it was, I think, a surprise to a lot of us, all aspects of this, his sudden departure and what almost was seemingly his sudden return.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What a time of the year to just say, I'm going to jump back in. I mean, this isn't taking a year off and jumping back in February.
Yeah. Well, I think we haven't seen it from the results nor from the TV footage, but he was quite okay, to get back as his first race into the Tour of Switzerland after a time off, and he did a decent time trial. He did the same time as Carapaz, and it was a hard time trial. It was a slow time trial, so obviously a hard course. And I think that's good for what I think it's a lot better for Tom Dumoulin to get back into racing in this way, like progressively, rather than all of a sudden being again there with the first guys, because then he's back into the spotlight, and then the expectations are super high, and then basically the reason why he got out of it, which is reportedly, the stress and the constant obsession to details and never being able to take time off, was the reason. So I think the way he came back is ideal. And I hope we can progressively see a good and good to great Tom Dumoulin again. Yeah.
And the other thing I think we'd be remiss not talking about is, because it is in the news today, and it just to even hear yourself say this just sounds, you got a problem when you have to say this. Team Israel, or Startup Nation, whatever they call themselves, has decided to take Chris Froome to the Tour de France. I mean, that's the fucking headline.
Well, it is. I mean, if we've seen, we haven't talked about Chris Froome during the Dauphiné, but obviously we've seen the same struggle going on for Chris Froome during the Dauphiné. He's trying with everything he has. From what I hear, the way he trains is incredible. He wants to get back. It's I'm sorry to say, it's just not there, and I'm afraid it's never going to be there again. At least not as it was before. And it's no shame to say, it's this super, super big accident he had, and the incredible injuries.
And his
which
age.
Has brought them.
And his age. Who knows what happens if
guys,
you're early to mid 20s, he might come back. But he's mid, I do think it's impossible at that age. I've been that age. I've been in it's not the same. The body that doesn't, it hits the ground differently. It hurts differently. It recovers, and it just doesn't come back.
Remember last year when we did the Best of the Blue Train, and we had Joseba Belocchi on our show, and we asked him about Chris Froome, and he said, and he's been in the same situation. He said, I hope for him, but I don't think so. Mm-hmm. It's, at that stadium in your career with that kind of injury, it's almost impossible. And he was right. Personally, if we talk about Chris Froome, I kind of feel bad for him struggling like that. And I personally, and that's my personal opinion, I don't really understand why Chris Froome wants to go to the Tour de France.
Well, hang on. I'm glad you said that, Johan, because I'm looking at George, and of course George is friends with everybody. I mean, fucking, world leaders, rock stars, all the best guys, everybody. So George and Chris Froome are fancy themselves friends. So I have a question for you, George, because just on the heels of what Johan said, is there any chance he's playing possum?
So I'm actually really glad you asked me this question, Lance, because I do remember you guys saying something similar about my good friend Mark Cavendish, who now has won 5 races in the last 2 months and is clearly almost back to the top of his game. And it's pretty awesome to see. Obviously didn't go through the same sort of injury process as Chris Froome, but went through a lot. As a sprinter, we all know how hard it is mentally when you just cannot do what you're born to do. So I'm looking at Chris Froome. Yes, he's got a long road ahead, but I'm thinking he's taken every little step is a win. He's made the Tour de France, and I see his kind of attitude where he's like, hey, I couldn't walk 2 years ago. And I saw him in my mate. He could barely walk. Now he's racing the Tour de France. he's got to look at it in a positive way that he's there. Okay, he's not at his best, but I'm not counting him out. You guys can. I'm not going to count him out. I'm going to, have my fingers crossed that he gets better, and maybe we can talk about it more after the Tour, see how he does. Clearly, he's far from his best, but it's good to see him still in the Tour, and the amount of respect he has for the race, wanting to go even though he knows he's far from his best, I think is something to be respect.
No, I listen. You don't sign a new team, much bigger budget. You sign a huge 5-year contract. Arguably the richest contract ever in cycling. You have to, if you can, you have to go honor that, even if you're in the Gruppetto every day. Like that's, of course.
Yeah. Listen, first of all, what I'm saying, my opinion is nothing against Chris Froome. It's just reality. I think, a champion that won the Tour de France 4 times, who has won the Giro, has won the Vuelta, cannot go to the Tour de France to be in the Gruppetto. That's just right. And also as a team, it's not great for the image. It can create some kind of sympathy, but you don't buy a lot of stuff with sympathy. Okay, although George may disagree with that, and I think you actually could be right. But
we'll see what
if you
happens.
Look from a pure performance standpoint, I think it's also the thing here. Here you get Team Israel Startup Nation. It's a team. They don't really have to make that difficult call. They're not leaving anybody at home who would do a great job in the team than Chris Froome at this point, because
just imagine he's on the team that he was on. If he's on Ineos, he's not going. He's on. Of course not. He's on the beach.
Yeah.
But that was then. This is now. By the way, just check. 36 years old. I'm not going to let this go. Like that age, man. That's dude. It totally different. Completely different.
So these guys are getting over injuries, I think, better than we were back in the day. I think the technology and the performance around that has gotten a lot more sort of in tune. But speaking of injuries, we can't not point out Uran, who's had a crazy year. He was in Miami for most of the year with his wife having a baby. He was training with some of my friends in South Beach. And I'm wondering, what is this guy doing?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. He was in Miami for several months, had a baby there, doing Key Biscayne intervals, came back to Europe. Came back after his injury, went back to Europe. I think he got COVID, went back to Colombia, and then comes out winning, one of the hardest time trials of the year so far by 40 seconds. So here's a guy that's been second place in the Tour de France, now completely on the upswing. I think we're going to see a lot of him in the Tour de France.
Actually, also, George, interesting fact, he wins the time trial in the Tour of Switzerland 14 years after he won the time trial in the Tour of Switzerland. 14 years later.
Wow. Yeah, he's 34 years old.
That's quite something.
See how good he's doing.
Yeah. Damn, the encyclopedia just came out. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. He's one to watch. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lance brought up something earlier that we kind of glossed over, but I want to know more thoughts on it. With Primoz Roglic opting not to show his face much leading up to the Tour, not doing Dauphiné or Tour de Suisse. And I think he's just a stone cold killer, right? That guy could do anything. What are your thoughts on him skipping these and laying low like that?
Well, I think obviously they've learned from last year. Traditionally, Primoz Roglic is known. He has to be an animal in training, because whenever he shows up at a race after training camp, he's in top shape. He did that after the quarantine. Showed up at Tour de l'Ain when everybody went in top shape. This year, Paris immediately top shape. And so he tends to start really strong and then fade a little bit away at the end. So I think that's the thinking pattern behind it. Let's say, we don't race. He trains, he's ready, but at least he has enough in the tank to keep it for 3 weeks. I'm not worried about the shape of Primoz Roglic at all. I'm more worried about his team. That it's not so strong. But then again, he's maybe not the top favorite this year. He hasn't won all those races, leading up to the Tour de France, and that's maybe going to be the luck of Team Jumbo Visma.
Johan.
Last year they had to carry the whole weight of the whole race for
Yeah.
you know.
Well, hang on a second. What do you mean he's not the top favorite? He has the ultimate card to play to say, I'm not the favorite. Look what happened to me last year. You haven't seen me race since Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Like, guys, let everybody. And by the way, too, the team is not that bad. I think they'll be better than.
That's true.
They'll be better than most expect. But he has the ultimate opportunity to say, hey, don't look at me. Don't look at us.
That's true. But, I mean, then we have to see what the team's strategy is. Like I had my questions last year with their team. They were doing so much work every single day from day one, for every day a little bit of benefit. And at the end, it was not enough. Well, so hopefully the team buys into that strategy too and say, okay, we need to sit back,
I have to agree with Lance. I mean, I think I like the position they're in now. They haven't showed all their cards. Who knows if they haven't been able to, but they haven't showed them. They're not, they don't have the responsibility from day one, so to speak. They're not going there for second place or third place. They're not going for podium. They're going for the win. And I like the position that they're in now. And I know we'll touch upon it again next week. But
George, I'm not one of these astrology people, but I know there's a lot of them out there. In fact, Anna is. But I need somebody to check like the fucking moon thing, the blue moon, the half moon, some special. There must be some special moon right now because it is rare to have George say, I actually agree with Lance. So there must be some. I don't know. We'll look after the show. But it's got to be one of those cosmic days. It just doesn't happen.
I have to start being nice to you. I'm about to go to your hometown, so I need you to, take care of me for the next month.
Speaking of that, just because I can't keep up with you. When are you coming here? Because I know Enzo, and I'd love to report on Enzo. We're going to be talking about Enzo for a long time. I have a feeling, as just one of the sweetest kids ever. But he's going to be on the big stage at some point. But you're going to Junior Nationals.
Yeah, going next Wednesday to Junior Nationals. He's got the time trial on Thursday, and then the road race on. I'm coming to Aspen on Friday, but my dad and my brother will be there with him for the crit and the road race Saturday, Sunday.
And how old is Enzo now?
Yeah.
Sorry, how old?
He's 12. 12.
God, yeah. Somebody asked me today. I said, I don't know. I think he's like 14 or 15. Yeah. I know he's not 16 because I haven't seen him drive a car.
He's what, 12?
Yep.
Jesus. I got to go.
How tall is he?
Yeah, he's huge.
He's tall. Yeah.
Holy moly, Max. Come on. Well, I'm sure you got the security detail in place for Junior Nationals and, all the autograph cards ready for all your peeps there. But the tour starts on Saturday, so it might be a good idea. Just don't miss the flight.
I'll be there Friday. Don't worry.
There's not a lot of room in there.
I'll be, if I miss the flight, I'll ask you to send one of your friends Jizzies over to pick me up.
Let me just start. I have a whole special section. Friends with Jizzies.
So last question for George. It's not about the Dauphiné or Tour of Switzerland. It's about the Tour of Belgium. Cavendish. Amazing sprint, I have to say, incredible. Beat all the big guys in the old fashioned way. Best, really great lead out from the team. His nose on the front wheel and just, no discussion. Calf to the Tour or calf not to the Tour? I mean, I know your answer, but what do you think?
So it's funny. I mean, I asked him about it and he's actually not sure either, but I think it's just great to see him loving the bike again. I mean, you can see that he's having fun. He loves his team. His personality is back. And hell, if it was me, I'd send him just because, I think once he gets back on the stage.
The thing there is this team, the Koenig Quickstep, their guy is Alaphilippe, of course, probably not at the level of these guys to win the Tour, although we never know. And Sam Bennett is the question right now because he has injured his knee. So, I mean, I saw that sprint and, that was a real Cavendish sprint from the good old days. And the competition is not going to get any better than this. In the Tour de France.
Wow.
Caleb Ewan, Groenewegen, Merlier, Ackermann. I mean, they were all there.
They're all there. And we know how hard the racing is in Belgium. And I mean, for the sprinters, that's, finishing there. Where was that? In Spa or
I don't know where it was, but it was a proper sprint.
Yeah,
really proper.
It was a proper sprint, and he's clearly back to incredible shape. So I'd love to see him go. It would be fun to watch.
See, I'm telling you, there's some special thing out there. The moon is some weird moon. Johan, look, I saw your face, George. You were like, "Whoa, wow, what just happened?"
And Johan, also, Bennett has just announced that he's leaving Quick Step, which I'm sure Lefebvre does not love. So he's probably like, yeah, maybe I can get some stage wins out of him, but he's also leaving my team. So there could be a little bit of that going.
Well, I don't think there's any, there's not any bad blood between Lefebvre and Sam Bennett. It's just it's a money problem. So Lefebvre had invested in Remco Evenepoel, of course, and then some guys need to leave. So we'll see how Sam Bennett performs once he leaves the Koenig Quick Step. That's going to be interesting to see.
All right. Well,
we had one other thing, and we can maybe save it for the tour preview if you want. But we had in our notes that we can maybe spend a couple minutes on it. Some of the UCI changes.
Oh,
well.
Do you want to talk about that?
I think let's touch on it.
But Johan, don't give us one of your hour-long tirades on the UCI. We all listen. We all know and recognize that they suck. So that's established.
Who want to know, I put in the notes a handlebar gate, right?
Yeah.
For the people who want to know, you can read it on my social media. That the point is, George. Question for you? Another of your friends, very good friends. The responsible at the UCI for the technical commission is Michael Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently there was this debate about an illegal or legal handlebars. Apparently the commissaire had given the green light. So the rider and the team, they were okay. They didn't do anything wrong. They got the okay from the commissaire. And whether it's now approved or not, that's not the riders, that's the UCI commissaire. So the UCI, apparently, your friend Michael Rogers overruled that and sent the rider home instead of the commissaire. So that was a bit. Anyway, this is one of those incidents where the UCI just interprets the rules to their best interest, or whatever, however they feel, however they've waken up in the morning. Right. What I think is a bigger issue is this constant trying to slow down technology. Technology advances. All of a sudden, we've seen this news that there's now a ban on these devices that monitor the health of the riders. At this pace, the riders wearing an Oura ring are not going to be able to wear it, because you can actually track in real life your data of how you are, and you can send it back to the car. What's wrong with that? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So,
in your
excuse also.
Yeah, you're talking about the banning of these. Acronym is CGM, so continuous glucose monitors, which we're seeing there's a lot of these platforms out there that, the sensor is made by Abbott. So this is a pharmaceutical grade, it is inserted. Mine's not on today because I'm due to change it out, but I've been testing these CGMs, and it's fascinating to watch your fuel levels throughout the day, seeing how different foods affect your glucose. And then certainly in the middle of working out or racing, you basically have a fuel tank. You're looking at it. So, they came in and said these are, whether or not it's because it is slightly inserted into the skin. So in my brain, I wonder if they say, well, there's no, we know that there is a no needle policy in cycling. So you cannot have any injection for anything. So are they considering that some sort of an injection, or is it just, hey, I think Mick Rogers' his comment or quote was, we don't want cycling to turn into F1. Well, you know what? Last I checked, the fucking F1, it's one of the biggest sports in the world. I don't know.
Doing pretty good.
I'm watching this thing I'm not even the F1 guy. I watched this thing on Netflix. Like, holy shit, this sport is dope. Like,
yeah.
But it's historic. It's in its history of cycling. The governing body has been trying to slow down everything that has come into the sport to make things better, until there was enough pressure from the industry to accept it. First they wanted to ban disc brakes. Now it's all disc brakes. let's go back to, I don't know, I mean, in the early 1900s, that when the derailleur came, they banned it. They banned the derailleur. They forced the riders to ride on single gears. So it's rooted, it's deep rooted into the history of the sport. So I just think that, slowing down this technology, whatever the technology can bring to the sport, I think it's more accurate, because let's not forget, these little devices, ultimately, those data are going to be available to the spectators. You're going to see at some point, this guy is almost out of fuel. So I think it makes things more attractive in the long run.
Yeah, on the heels of what Lance said, monitoring is basically like a fuel gauge. And I love motorsports. When you know that someone takes a risk on fuel, that adds drama to the racing. When you know that their tires are wearing out because they didn't make a change to save a few seconds, that makes motorsports great and exciting. Being able to see a fuel gauge on a rider, like, can you imagine knowing where their levels are in real time? It's great to fill those 5 hours, right? And
we literally were like a dog chasing our tail. And again, back to the Netflix thing with F1, like one of the coolest things is listening to the drivers while they're going, a million miles an hour, communicating with the crew, like real time, like just copy. Yep. Like it's like that. We've had this debate around radio communication and cycling. That was my point the whole time. It's like, just make that public. That is incredible content. Like, let's not complain about it or ban it. How about we embrace it and broadcast it?
It's showbiz.
Baby, this just right? Like this show. Everybody, oh, you're so mean to George. I said, shut up. This is fucking show business. Okay. All right. This is show business. This is Hollywood. The move style. Anyways, we could literally talk about this for hours. We really could. And we will have plenty of opportunities to get into this during the tour. So I thought it was an awesome show today, guys.
Yeah.
Despite George's technical difficulties. Huh?
Next week is our preview show.
Yep. And for before that is Enzo at National. So best of luck to him, man.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, I got 2 weeks for that. Because next week is I got another 10 days for that. So no.
Oh, we do. Wait, what are we doing next week?
I thought we were doing the preview show.
To the France preview.
I could be wrong.
You know what? I just work for you guys. Whatever y'all say. I'll be there. I'll be there. All right. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we'll see you in a week or so.